Hello, you've just stepped into Veloran, a place for minds that wander and wonder. If these ideas speak to you, a like and a subscribe would mean the world. You push, you strain, you tell yourself that if you just try a little harder, push a little longer, force yourself into the next version of who you're supposed to be, then maybe, just maybe, you'll finally feel at ease. But each step forward feels heavier than the last, and no matter how fiercely you chase that sense of ease or success or happiness, it keeps slipping through your fingers. You're exhausted, but you don't stop. You don't know how to stop. The harder you try to control the outcome, the more out of reach it seems. You begin to wonder, is there something wrong with you, or is it the trying itself that's become the problem? Alan Watts called it the backwards law, the idea that the more desperately you pursue something, happiness, peace, love, even sleep, the more you reinforce its absence, because beneath every act of striving is an admission, I lack this thing, I am incomplete without it, and so the pursuit feeds the void rather than filling it. You've felt this in moments that matter. On nights when you can't sleep, watching the minutes drag by, your mind racing with the thought that you must sleep soon or tomorrow will be ruined. And the more you will your mind to rest, the more restless you become. Or when you've stood before someone you care about, desperate to be liked, loved, accepted, but your very desperation stifles the authenticity the connection depends on. It's a hard thing to swallow, this truth, that trying too hard can ruin the very thing you long for, that some forms of effort carry within them the seeds of failure. But you already know this, deep down. You've lived it. You've seen how forcing joy can lead to hollowness, how straining for confidence can expose your insecurity, how obsessing over productivity can sap your creativity. What makes it worse is the world you live in, a culture that worships hustle and willpower and tenacity. You've been told that everything worth having lies on the far side of effort, that if you're unhappy, you just haven't tried hard enough yet. So you double down, you grind yourself into the ground, convinced that one final push will crack the code, but the only thing cracking is you. There's an irony here that's easy to miss. Some of life's most precious states, happiness, ease, flow, peace, cannot be wrestled into existence. They emerge, they happen when you create the conditions for them, but not when you demand them. Think of it like a shy animal. You can't chase it down, you can only make yourself still enough, quiet enough, that it feels safe to come to you. Watts spoke often about this, that surrender, not force, often brings the very things you crave. Not passive resignation, but a kind of wise letting go, a release of the grip that's been strangling your own experience of life. Consider love. You've probably seen, maybe lived, what happens when someone clings too tightly, tries too hard to secure affection. The need becomes suffocating. The energy repels rather than attracts. But when someone is at ease with themselves, content in their own being, love flows naturally toward them, not because they fought for it, but because they weren't fighting. Or take creativity. You can sit at your desk, fists clenched, demanding inspiration. But the harder you chase it, the further it runs. Yet when you relax, when you allow space for your mind to wander, ideas begin to surface. They arise in the gaps between effort, not from brute force. Even in healing, the same law applies. The more you obsess over getting better, the more you monitor every sign and symptom, the harder it is to heal. Recovery often comes when you trust the process and give your body and mind permission to be imperfect for a while. And beneath all this is a simple but uncomfortable truth. Much of your suffering comes not from your circumstances, but from your resistance to them. The desperate refusal to be where you are, to feel what you feel, to be the person you are right now. This resistance is subtle, often invisible to you, but it drains you. It locks you in a fight with reality, and that fight consumes the very energy you need to live fully. Think of all the ways you might be resisting right now. The way you try to will yourself into a better mood and end up feeling worse. The way you try to force relationships to go where they aren't ready to go. The way you push yourself towards some vision of success while quietly hollowing out your own joy in the process. The backwoods law isn't saying you should give up on goals or desires. It's saying that how you pursue them matters. When your striving is fueled by fear, by lack, by the need to prove something, it backfires. But when it flows from acceptance, from curiosity, from love, it tends to bear fruit. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But if your why is rooted in the belief that you are not enough as you are, your how will be poisoned from the start." The healthiest striving begins from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. So the question isn't whether you should pursue your dreams. It's whether you can do so without clutching them to death. Whether you can let go enough to let life surprise you. Whether you can trust that some of what you seek may arise not through force, but through space. Look at your own life. Where are you trying too hard? Where has effort turned into tension? What might shift if you stopped gripping so tightly? Maybe it's in your career, the relentless push for validation, the need to outdo yourself at every turn, the constant comparison that steals your peace. Maybe it's in relationships, the ways you contort yourself to be more likable, more desirable, less yourself. Maybe it's in your own mind, the way you attack yourself for every perceived flaw, thinking that harshness will somehow breed improvement. But what if the path forward wasn't more effort, but a different kind of effort? One that honors ease. One that leaves room for rest, for silence, for unforced growth. One that trusts that you are already, in many ways, enough. Spinoza said, "Peace is not the absence of war, but a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition for benevolence, confidence, and justice." You could say the same about happiness, about love, about any of the things you chase. They are not outcomes you win through battle. They are states you cultivate by tending to your inner ground. And tending takes a different skill than fighting. It asks you to listen, to notice, to care gently for what is, rather than endlessly straining toward what is not yet. It's hard, this shift. You've been trained to believe that worth comes from struggle, that the more you suffer for something, the more valuable it will be. But suffering alone proves nothing. Sometimes it's a sign you're out of alignment, that you've mistaken force for wisdom. Ask yourself, where could you loosen your grip, even a little? Where could you allow space for what you seek to emerge on its own terms? What might happen if you trusted life and yourself just a little more? The backwards law invites you to this trust, to see that sometimes surrender is strength, that letting go is not giving up, but clearing the way for life to flow through you again. Because when you stop trying to float, you rise. When you stop running from discomfort, you find peace. And when you stop forcing happiness, you make room for joy to grow, not because you conquered it, but because you allowed it.